the things of the other age. We are rather too backward as Aquarians, and the future generations call us the primitive Aquarians, because they will be advanced enough to accept the Piscean values and the Aryan values also once again, because a proud and an obstinate fellow can never be a real Aquarian. So, while speaking of the Aquarian age, let us also remember this. Many times I find the Piscean poets feeding us something which is quite useful to the Aquarian age. No doubt they teach us values like nationalism and patriotism, but the true Aquarian, after some experience, will understand that a human being lacking in national spirit can never reach internationalism, international values, unless the brick is strong. The building can never be strong. Unless you are a true nationalist, you cannot value the values of another nation, and you cannot enter into the real spirit of internationalism. A fellow who doesn't believe in nationalism can become a human bacteria, and it is because of such people we are experiencing the features of one nation trying to eat another nation, one nation trying to control another nation, two big nations trying to purchase all the other nations of the earth. Such dirty traits should be eliminated from the Aquarian age. And once again, we have to come to the stage of accepting all the values of the 12 signs of the zodiac. The fool accepts that his sign is the best sign. I was born in Leo. I may believe that Leo is the best sign. Same is the case with all the other 11 fools, until we stop to be fools and until we begin to understand the brotherhood existing between the 12 brothers. We cannot have the real understanding of the values of the Aquarian age. So, as a student of spiritualism, we are expected to practice the basic human traits, and then passive attitude to pleasures. That's the next thing that is prescribed for us if we want spiritualism. Grow passive to pleasures. Don't deny pleasures, but don't be a beggar of pleasures. See, don't be a dog to wag your tail for pleasures. Let it come to you. Enjoy. This is the next trait that is to be practiced by a spiritual student. The same thing is to be practiced with eating, drinking, housing and garments and sex. This is the next. And then the capacity to excuse. What is it that is required if you want to excuse others really? It's not the pride to excuse others. If we feel the pride of excusing others, we will grow more and more in our hypertension as others do mistakes. And after 2 or 3 mistakes of others, we burst out and behave like beasts. We grow crazy of our anger, and our ears and face will be red. This is not the spirit with which we are expected to excuse. Remember how nature excuses us. When we transgress the law of nature, suppose we eat when we are not hungry, because it was the occasion of the marriage of our friend. We have defaulted against nature. Nature has every right to kill us with a disease. But still, nature teaches us only a lesson and it never kills us. Immediately it gives us some discomfort in the abdomen and some pain, only to teach us that we have defaulted. And nature expects us to understand the language of nature and behave accordingly and not to repeat. Because poor nature, it is mistaken many times. It still believes that we are human beings. Even though we fail, it is still confident that we will be human beings tomorrow. In the meanwhile, it never kills us. It excuses us. And until we kill ourselves with our own habits, nature excuses us. Excuse others in the same spirit. Have real compassion. Remember that You too have defects. Don't be ashamed to believe that you have defects. That is your only strong point. If at all there is a strong man in this world who cannot be harmed by anyone, it is only the fellow who believes that he too have defects, and one who is not ashamed of accepting his own defects. He is the only strong man in the world, and he is the weakest of all who tries to conceal his own defects, because rectifying the defects is not for others, it is for ourselves. So this is the next trait which we are expected to practice. When we begin to practice these traits, we go to the third plane of existence called consciousness. From matter we go to the plane of energies. From the plane of energies we go to the plane of consciousness. Then we begin to live a conscious existence, a consciousness which is called self-awareness. And this is the threefold division which a spiritualist is expected to remember. There is the fourfold division of the four kingdoms in the universe: mineral, plant, animal and human kingdoms. We have travelled through these three kingdoms and entered into the fourth kingdom. Is this the goal, or are we to travel further? There are people who believe that the human birth is the highest. There are also authors who have written books to the effect that human birth is the highest, just as there are dogs who have written books that dog birth is the highest. There is no use of still behaving like dogs. Suppose 100 dogs make a conference to conclude that the dog is the highly evolved animal on the face of earth. Same is the case if a human fellow believes that the human birth is the highest. But still, there are people, including biology professors and natural philosophers, who believed and who have written books to that effect, until great thinkers like George Bernard Shaw came to the field. We find such writings. And only after George Bernard Shaw has started reminding them that this is dog-like, then people began to think, and then they stopped writing such books. So it is not the highest birth. The human birth is the highly evolved birth, but not the highest birth. That is what the masters of wisdom teach us. Remember, the human birth is not a privilege, but it is an opportunity. We have many valuable things in the constitution which are not there in the constitutions of animals or plants. Let us try to know them and try to have a technical know-how of the human machine. Let us be the real technicians who can handle the engine properly. Many times we manhandle this machine instead of handle it properly, and we damage it beyond repair before we are old, because of our foolish eating, drinking and foolish life of sex and foolish sleeping and sleeplessness. There is a method how to use this machine, and the one who knows the value of this machine knows the method of using this machine. It is an invaluable gift that is given to us, and there is one thing that is given to the human fellow. That one thing is called discrimination. This is one power which is not given to any animal or any plant. And we are also given what is called common sense, which we rarely use. Madam Blavatsky in his Sacred Doctrine remarks that it is wrongly called common sense because it is rarely used. We have it, all of us, in us, and we are expected to use it cost-free, but still we are too lazy to use it. These two things are the rare gifts that are made to the human fellow. Use them and make your life worth living. Believe that you are still having journey ahead. You have started your journey long before you were a mineral atom, and you have completed your journey in the mineral kingdom and then entered into the plant kingdom, completed your journey in the plant kingdom and entered into the animal kingdom. While you are a plant, you are having sensations just as the animal is having, but the animal has a portion of its physical cells separated to work as brain cells. The cortical tissue is separated for the animal fellow and the nervous system is separated, so that pain and pleasure can be translated into more definite terms. To the plant, pain is only a sensation. It has pain, but it is only a sensation. If you pluck a leaf, the plant has pain, but it is not localized to the place where you have plucked the leaf. The whole plant feels the pain because there is no nervous system, and that's why nature has given another gift to the plant which is not given to the animal or the human being. That is, if you pluck off a leaf or a few leaves, again the plant sprouts and has new leaves. If you cut a branch or a twig from a plant, from a tree, it throws new branches. Whereas an animal or a human being, when a finger is cut, can never reproduce. So nature is always meaningful, and it has distributed its powers to all the children of nature according to the need. It has given wings to the birds, not to the human being, because it knows that the human beings hunt the birds, whereas the birds never hunt the human being. It has given the sting to the tail of the scorpion. It has not given the sting to the finger of a human fellow, because it remembers that the scorpion stings only when there is pressure to it. That is, only for self-protection that the scorpion stings, whereas the human fellow hunts for pleasure. It knows the values. Nature knows the traits of each and every species of the fauna and flora of this earth, and thereby it has properly distributed its values, its powers. The power to bequeath should be learned from nature, and we are expected to know all these things and remember that we have completed the journey in the animal kingdom and entered into the human kingdom, and we faced a big crisis as soon as we entered into the human kingdom. What is it? The crisis of freedom. What happens when immediately liberty is given to us when we are not ready? We had few thousands of births and rebirths through which we misbehaved. We harmed ourselves because of our freedom. We could not understand the trouble with transgressing. The animals and the plants were protected by nature not to transgress. The animal cannot eat when it is not hungry, cannot drink when it is not thirsty, cannot mate when it is out of season. And here freedom is given to us because discrimination is given to us, and we are expected to be the masters, not the servants like animals and plants. Certain amount of mastery is expected of us, and nature tries to honor us by giving these freedoms. We default. We eat when we are not hungry. We drink when we are not thirsty. We drink things more costly than water, though less valuable than water. And we play sex whenever we want. And we could not understand, and till 20th century we are not able to understand the result of our defaultations. And the result is a broken life, disease. You know that the percentage of disease is maximum in the human kingdom. Can you deny the fact that the number of sick fellows are more in the human kingdom than in the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom? If you deny, it is a clean bluff. Because of our transgressions, we are sick, and we live through disappointments, dissolutions, estrangements. We are happy one day and unhappy another day. Our face has a full moon some day and new moon another day. Hope can be seen on our face on one day and hopelessness the other day. Is it not a great insult to the intelligence of the human fellow?
No?
not to understand the language of nature, and trying to default, though the great value of discrimination is given to us. So, we are expected to know where to we are traveling. Do we have a life better than the human being? No, the human kingdom is the best kingdom that can be given by nature, but it is also a stage in evolution, and someday you have to cross it,
Okay.
and before that all the discipline of the spiritualist should be completed.
Yes.
For that reason nature gives us thousands and thousands of rebirths in the name of opportunities to rectify ourselves. Whenever we fail, nature is not angry with us, and nature is not hopeless with us like the doctor. Nature is always progressive, and it is always hopeful of our future. If we fail for 1,000 times, it gives 1,001 rebirths,
No.
because nature only knows one thing, that is play. It doesn't know anything which we call seriousness. Seriousness is an attitude which is a mental disease to the human fellow. That's the reason why hypertension is the disease of only the human kingdom. Do you know the fact that animals have no hypertension? Can any doctor, veterinary or human, prove that animals have hypertension? What's the reason? Now here he has his own grave prepared for himself.
Stone.
Let him remember that he has to cross the human kingdom
No.
and enter into another kingdom, the kingdom from which he has come, and the kingdom from which he has entered into the mineral kingdom. This kingdom is called the Deva kingdom by the masters. They are working there in nature. Why? Is it for any remuneration? No. Then what for they are working? The answer is only one. What for the child is playing? What for the child is smiling? What for the child is laughing? It's not the laugh of a grown-up man, but the laugh of a child. Because the laugh of a grown-up man is polluted by his own complexes. Bernard Shaw says, men laugh because they cannot weep. Because after a certain age, we are ashamed to weep when there is pain, and then we laugh. But the child has the freedom to weep when it is pain. So, it is the laugh of the child that we are thinking about. Why the child plays? Ask him, why boy, why you are playing? He says, yes, I am playing. What for? You can ask. What's the benefit you derive by playing? That is the question of an adult whose mind is adulterated with adultery, adulthood. Because we are benefit conditioned. As we grow into adults, we grow foolish to grow benefit conditioned. Whereas the child is still healthy not to be conditioned by benefit. Therefore, it is very difficult for us to understand the logic of the child. Once again, we have to be a child to understand the happiness of a child. So the child knows how to play. The devas in nature know how to play. They play the drama of creation, and they enact their role in the drama of evolution, and they create egos called permanent atoms, and then we are shunted into the mineral kingdom to awaken as an individual. This is how the story goes, and we are expected to practice spiritualism. We stand here as human beings having body, that is matter, having life, that is force, and mind, that is consciousness, and we should know the way to soul, and then afterwards we should be able to know the spirit. Then we are called spiritualists. Yesterday I spoke to you the difference between spirit and soul. Spirit is one in every one of us, just as the space in every room in this building is one space. There are many flats, many floors and many rooms in this building, but there are no many spaces in this building.
No.
Another fact is the building belongs to space and space never belongs to any room, because space was there before the building was constructed. It was the building that was constructed in space, and space is never constructed in a building. Like that we have space in us. The space in which we stand is the space which we call I am. This much fact we are not able to understand because we are not ready to bestow a few minutes for this thought. When we walk from one place to another, we believe that we are walking from that place to this place. Unless we are foolish to believe like that, we cannot live with a hope.
Wow.
But the fact is, the matter of this body is not moving from place to place. It is only the shape that is moving, whereas the space that is being occupied by the shape is what is called I am and myself. We cannot believe it easily because unfortunately we have no university professors who can teach this subject. Until today we have no university that has the stature to teach such subjects. We wish that there may be at least one university in this advanced century to teach this subject. The space in which we live is the one from which the consciousness of space is emitted and the energy is released, and the energies construct the many atoms in space, and the atoms of the mineral kingdom and the gaseous states, they form into many kingdoms. They form the cells of our tissues. The biochemistry of the cells of our physical tissues is made up of the atoms that are there in the mineral kingdom, and only the tissues are an aggregate of the atoms of the minerals. Scientifically speaking, the whole thing is a house of cards. It is like an arrangement of some rolls like this. If you arrange a big row of tubes, if you calculate is it matter that is occupying more or the space in the tubes? Same is the case with us. Just as ice block is floating upon water, though ice and water are the same, they make an appearance of one thing floating in another. Similarly, so many minerals float in the name of the tissues of your body. So what you are is scientifically space. And because space wants to speak to itself, it produces its own machines called the constitutions. And through these machines, space speaks and we feel we speak to each other. Scientifically speaking, this is the truth of it. And spiritualists remind us of this truth, but they never deny us of our suppositions and our complexes. They never stop us from living in our own way of living. They only want us to make a better use of what we have. When happiness is the law of nature, we are preparing many complexes in our minds and living in unhappiness. Why should we make our life unhappy? Why should we be foolish to disagree with each other? Why should we live fatigued? Why should we live disappointed? That is the one thing that the spiritualists do not understand about us, the human fellows. It's a big problem for them. They cannot understand why we are unhappy. And if we practice some basic traits, then we begin to live as spirit. Then bodies exist in us, we do not exist in bodies. The change of outlook takes place.